Hi, this is Charlie, and we are on air, my Beatles collection. Today I'm going to show you something that's very special to me. It's a one-of-a-kind item. There used to be a guy on eBay, I don't know if he still puts stuff on there, but he does one-off custom-built things, and usually they're meant to look like something they're not. So without further ado, here is my Replica Air Flyte Beatles record case, replicating a record case from 1964. This is a CD size case, not a 45 size case. I happen to have a brown actual Air Flyte 45 case and a red LP size case. So this is a nice companion to those, only this holds CDs, and in this case, mostly VJ CDs, not totally VJ, but mostly VJ. And of course, there are no VJ CDs, so these are replicas. But great little package. It's got a picture of a handle, a picture of these locks here, but they're not real. And nice replica of the picture from the original box. So when you open it up, got all those CDs inside. I'm going to show you those. There's a whole bunch of them. So that's the stack that came out of there. First one come across is Introducing the Beatles in Stereo, version 1. Add back. If you found one of those in nature, out in the wild, so to speak, on an LP, you'd have something really special. There are very few and far between, and this is a great little thing to have. So it's version 1, so it has Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You. And it's in stereo. So there were very, very few of those made on LP. There were none made on CD. So this is a replica of that. He did not try to replicate the label, so the record label. So it's just a kind of a plain white label. I'll show you the first one. Sorry for the noise. I'll show you the first label. Plain sleeve. Some of them have, he actually reproduced the inner sleeve too. There was no inner sleeve, I guess, for this particular album anyway. And that's what that label looks like inside. So not at all like the original VJ label. But everything else is a pretty good reproduction. The sound is good, it sounds fine. So nice to have that. The next thing in the box here is this one. This is mono, and this is version 2. So this is without Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You, and with Ask Me Why and Please Please Me. And this one has a replica of the hype sticker on it too, which would make this a bit rarer if it was the LP and if it had the hype sticker on it. So this one is the title back. I forget the name they call that. Column back, I think, is the right terminology. So, and again, it has the same kind of label inside. And then this one, I don't think this actually ever existed. This is stereo, and it's Introducing the Beatles. It shows Introducing the Beatles on the back, but it lists 16 titles. You can see it says 16 songs that made history. And on the back, you can see the columns are much longer because they include, well, first of all, they include both Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You, and Ask Me Why, Misery. Ask Me Why, Please Please Me. They're all on there. So you got 16 tracks in total on this one. I want to check this. I don't know if this has a plain inner sleeve or this has a custom inner sleeve. Nice one, actually. But again, I don't believe this album ever existed. I've never seen one, and I've never heard of one. But there we go. Here it is on CD in this box. This one switches over to the Swan label, and this is She Loves You. And it's actually She Loves You and Other Great British Beat Sounds. Doesn't say that on the front, but it does show titles that look like Beatles, rare Beatles titles, but the fact is they're covers. So the actual Beatles songs on here are She Loves You, I'll Get You, which was the B-side of She Loves You, both on Swan here in the U.S., and Sie liebt dich, the German version of She Loves You. It also has Hello Little Girl, the foremost, Love of the Loved, Cilla Black, Do You Want to Know a Secret, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, All My Lovin', Matt Monroe, That Means a Lot, P.J. Proby, Misery, Kenny Lynch, then I'll Get You, Beatles, Like Dreamers Do, the Applejacks, I'll Be On My Way, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, and then Sie liebt dich. So I don't know if any such record ever existed of this. Those artists were not on Swan in the U.S. This one Beatles record was on Swan. She Loves You, backed with I'll Get You, and then, of course, Sie liebt dich was also later came out on Swan. So I don't know, but this particular gentleman who creates these decided to create this. So, and it replicates a hype sticker there as well. I never saw that in the wild. I don't believe that that actually ever existed, but if you know better than me, tell me. Tell me in the comments if you know more about an actual LP of that name and that look. This one jumps over to Capitol. And this one I have on LP, so I know it's legit LP. This is a promo. It was for radio programming only. Great new releases from the sound, from the sound capital of the world, a little pun there. And then, so this has, let's see, 6 tracks from Meet the Beatles. Then it has Can't Buy Me Love from the single. And then it has 5 tracks from the Beatles' second album. And then it also has ads for other albums, including Meet the Beatles. You can see that back there. The glare is not too bad. Now this one has a replica of the Capitol label. And to be honest, I'm not sure that this came in this box that I'm showing you. It is now in there. I'm not sure if I'm the one that put it in there or if it came in there. It does seem out of place. Everything else is VJ except for that one Swan that we just looked at. And they have plain white labels, and this has a replica of the Capitol label. So it's nice to have. As I said, I'm not sure exactly the origin or whether it came in this box or not. The rest of these I know for sure came in this box, and here's one. This is a stereo version of Songs, Pictures, and Stories of the Fabulous Beatles. I happen to have this LP, and I happen to have it in stereo and in mono. And mine also has the sticker from one of the concerts. I believe mine is from Cleveland. And that adds quite a bit of rarity to have that sticker. They actually sold some of these albums at concerts. And depending upon the venue, they had the name of the venue on a sticker that went across the front of this. Anyway, this is, of course, was never released on CD, but this is the stereo version. I'm going to take this out of the plastic because I want to show you that unlike many of the bootlegs that are out there now that either say songs and pictures of the Beatles or pictures and stories of the Beatles, but never say songs, pictures, and stories, they are all bootlegs. And they also don't open like this. This has the sort of the 70%, 80% gatefold. You know, it leaves this part visible. So that's pretty good. And this one, again, it it just has the plain white label, but it has a nice inner sleeve. advertising other artists. One of them is right here, is the golden hits of the 4 seasons. And that is relevant to our discussion here because later on came on VJ the Beatles versus the 4 seasons. And the Beatles part is introducing the Beatles yet again, version 2. So that would be, with Ask Me Why and Please Please Me, No Love Me Do, No P.S. I Love You. So version 2 of the introducing the Beatles, and that 4 Seasons Golden Hits album that I just pointed to. So that is, and originally this was a double album, 2 record set, it says that up on top, 2 record set. And, you got Introducing the Beatles record, and you got the Golden Hits of the 4 Seasons record. This is 1 CD. But it is a gatefold. And so, what it looks like on the inside. And since there's only 1 CD, which again has the replica of the inner sleeve. Again, it's still white sleeve. But the other pocket, as opposed to having another CD in here, it has this. Everybody wants one of these from that album. They're very hard to find in good condition. They're very expensive to find in good condition. I've seen replicas. There's some on eBay right now that are replicas of the album size version of this, and they're like $60. So I don't know if they're selling for $60. They're listed for $60, and I've seen at least 2 postings, 2 different postings from 2 different sources. I would love to have the poster, but I want the real thing. I don't know about the paper. I don't know about whether it's the exact size. So, but in the meantime, I have it here on this CD package, which that was a nice touch to include that in there. I'm happy to have it. And as I said, this original 2 record set had yet another copy of Introducing the Beatles, as did Songs, Pictures, and Stories. Maybe I neglected to say that. The record that came in Songs, Pictures, and Stories was Introducing the Beatles, version 2, again. So VJ was really trying to milk their soon-to-die rights to the Beatles material that they had. So they were repackaging it in as many possible ways as they could. Here's 2 other ways that they packaged it. Beatles and Frank Ifield. They didn't include Introducing the Beatles LP, but they included songs from it. So the songs alternate back and forth between the Beatles and Frank Ifield. So the Beatles songs on here are Please Please Me, From Me to You, Ask Me Why, and Thank You Girl. That's it. The rest are all Frank Ifield. And this this version is referred to as the portrait cover in collector circles. And if you had an album this clean on an LP from, the original from VJ 1964, it's worth many thousands of dollars. I've seen one on eBay recently for $8,000. I don't know if it's old, so I can't say that's the actual market value, but I know it's in the thousands to have a legitimate original copy. There are fakes of this album out there. Some that just the cover doesn't come with a record. It's just a replica of the album. I actually have one of those. Even those sell for $75 to $80, whatever. But anyway, that's the portrait cover of the Beatles and Frank Ifield, and this is the more common Jolly What, the Beatles and Frank Ifield. Exact same songs. Everything else is the same. Just doesn't have the portrait cover. And this was the one that was, let's say, mass-produced. Most people that had the Beatles and Frank Ifield album did not have the portrait cover. They had the Jolly What cover. There's 2 more in this box set. This is the 15 greatest songs of the Beatles. And it's songs written by John, Paul, or George. no Ringo. And on the back, I'll read it to you from while I'm looking at it. It says, other than the great singing accomplishments of John, Paul, and George, a fact which is oftentimes overlooked is that all are fine writers, as evidenced by the 15 great hits in this album. And then there's a little blurb about each of the three Beatles that are referenced there. As I recall, on the actual LP, I believe on the cover, it told you who the artist was. It was not the Beatles. It was just songs of the Beatles, the greatest songs of the Beatles, but not the actual Beatles. I haven't listened to this specific CD, so it's possible that the person that created this might have included actual Beatles versions of these songs, but I know that the original album did not. It was some other artist. And I believe this was after VJ lost the rights to the Beatles versions of these. And then finally, there is this interview disc, Hear the Beatles Tell All. And this advertised the portrait cover and songs, pictures, and stories, and the singles, all legit stuff. They were all legitimately released. This, on the original LP, one side was an interview. Well, let me take it out and I'll show you what it says on here. Again, it had a replica inner sleeve. And this one says, Jim Steck interviews John and Paul. That would have been side one. In this case, it's track one on the CD, but on the LP, it was side one. And side two, Dave Hull interviews Ringo and George. So 2 different interviewers, 4 different interviews. This album you will see on eBay fairly regularly. If it says stereo on the top, it would say it right here, and that makes it a repro from the 70s. Or worse, it could just be a counterfeit as well. But the original was only offered in mono, and it did not have the stereo notation on the top. And that's it. That was another attempt by VJ to promote what they already had in the marketplace, but they didn't have any new product to sell, so they did that interview CD. Anyway, sorry, not CD. They did the LP. None of these were available on CDs ever that were legit. So the guy who put this set together had a nice idea to replicate the original Air Flyte record cases. And it looks great on the shelf. I mean, I have it up there with my lunch boxes and all my legit stuff. And, you know, it raises a lot of questions. People say, hey, what is that? Is that an Air Flyte case? Kind of small. Now, you probably can't tell, you know, next to my head that it's not a 45 case. It's a CD case. So, you know, it's not much. It's not much bigger. You know, there's enough room for the corrugated, and there's some foam in there to protect it. But, you know, it's not big enough to hold a 45. Anyway, and it's not really a case. That's not a real handle. Those aren't real latches. But, you know, it opens like that. Anyway, just a great little item to have. Don't ask me where to get one because there aren't any. This is the only one in existence to my knowledge. I've never seen another one. You know, the guy that makes these things makes a variety of things that come in these boxes. And I've shown some of the other things that this same supplier has sent me. And, you know, I've never seen them duplicated. You know, he does one at a time, and he puts them on eBay, and he gets good money for them. I mean, this was not cheap. I've had this for, I don't know, I probably had it for maybe 10 years. I don't know, at least 5 or 10 years. And I think it was, you know, it was on eBay, so it was an auction. And, you know, it was one of those, I had to have it. And I probably went, I don't know, 200? I might have went 200 for it. I don't recall, to be honest, exactly. But I don't know. To me, it was just so unique and so nice to have all these VJ CDs because, you know, they don't exist anywhere else, really. And now there are some that have come out, but they're all bootlegs. So they're all varying degrees of quality. Some of them have the VJ label, done, the artwork done, not just a plain white label like these. So there's other sources now, but at the time, I just thought the box was cool, and the CDs were, wow, these are great to have all these in one place. So anyway, that's my Repro Air Flyte record case, CD case for today. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. And in any case, come back and see us. There's lots of other videos on the channel, and there'll be a lot more coming. As you can see, looking around me, I could do a show every day for the rest of my life probably, and I'll probably run out of life before I run out of stuff to talk about. So hopefully neither will happen soon. But in the meantime, stay tuned and come back and see us. Take care. Bye.